All right. Well, for those that are on the call, my name is Steve Alexander from MSP-Ignite. Those of you that are members obviously know me. Those of you that are guests may not. That's okay. Welcome to our quarterly Datto tips, tricks, and techniques. Anyone that paid attention to my email this morning, I misled you by saying that Des would be on this call. While she is a fascinating follow, I wouldn't worry about it. Jason Pryce is going to carry the ball. And bring us in. And I don't know who else we have other than Dan today, Jason, but I'm going to turn it over to you and let you do your introductions. This is Datto's show, so I will let you run it from this point on, and I will certainly be here to ask questions.
All right, thank you, and thank you everybody for being here today. My name is Jason Pryce. I've been on here with a couple of you guys in the past, and really being able to share a bunch of different tips and tricks, and also get a lot of feedback from you. So definitely appreciate that. But today, I'm not the star of this show, right? Today, we actually brought in the EVP of channel from Kaseya, Mr. Dan Tomaszewski. So I'm gonna let him introduce himself, give him the opportunity to give a little more background on who he is, and then he's gonna be able to kick this off for us today.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be here with you all. As Jason said, and I am not the star of the show. Jason is far better than me on these things. But my role is the executive vice president of the channel. But really, what's the most important thing is I come from being an MSP. I spent over 4 years building my MSP from the ground up. I've been in your shoes, and then what I've spent the last 4.5 years doing is building up our sales and marketing and enablement, and working with thousands of MSPs and trying to make them successful through sales and marketing. So today, really what we're trying to do is bring you some of the things that we are seeing when it relates to LinkedIn, as it relates to how is your brand, how is your message, and how can you capitalize without having to go out and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on LinkedIn and Facebook and things. What can you do to organically drive better results? And what are those things that you could be doing? And they're all going to come from a lens of things that we've already been doing with hundreds of MSPs around the globe, and seeing those results. And I'll talk about that as we go through. I love that you guys do interactive sessions. Most of the time, I just look at myself in a camera, and I never know if anybody's listening. So if I'm going through something, or Jason, I know Jason's maybe going to add some color in at different points. Please stop, ask, and let's help you out. Because I think I'm going to go through some key things. Some things you'll probably be like, yeah, that's basic, I know that. And then there's some other things I hope you're going to take a nugget or two away and go, yeah, I need to go do that to my profile, because we're not doing that today. So that's the goal for today. And if there's any questions before I get started, if not, I will share my screen and we'll get right in. All right. Oops, it says that screen sharing is disabled.
I am fixing that right now. Go ahead.
Here we go. Give me 1 sec. And all right, guys should be able to see the screen. Is that cool? So Powered Services, just so everyone knows, Powered Services is Datto and Kaseya's MSP enablement. That's why you're going to see some of the things today, is because if you're a legacy Datto customer, this is something new that we're putting in. And Powered Services, like, again, is something that I've spent the last 4 years building to really make sure that it's MSP focused and driving to help MSPs grow their business. So let's get into it and talk about what we're seeing and some of the basics of social media marketing. We'll start with the basics and then dive right in. There are a lot of really good benefits for social media marketing. Brand awareness, one of them, being able to promote your offering, who you are, what you're doing. Probably one of the most important ones is the engagement with target audience, and we'll get into that as we go through. And look, through doing these things, it does generate leads. There are a lot of people that says, I don't generate any leads from social media. It never does anything. But That doesn't mean it's not effective. It just might mean you have the wrong strategy, or maybe we're not dialed in on some of the different key elements that you need for those things to start coming back to you. So when we look at it, we look at some key elements of social media strategy is who is your target audience? And I think this is the biggest thing that I ask people is if you look at your MSP today and you take your number one customer, buyer persona that you want to go attract 50 more, 10 more, however many more of that customer, how do we make sure that our profile is speaking to that person? And I think this is something that's really key. We have to look at that because that's really going to, as we start to go down then is what social media platforms are they on? What type of schedule and how do we share unique content that's going to get that persona to engage with us? And then we need to track it. We need to understand like if our opportunities are improving, is our engagement improving? All of these things come together when you look at a LinkedIn and Facebook strategy. These are the things that you should be looking at or at least have visibility into what's going on. So when we look at this, you know, we want to power up and start with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is one of the biggest ones that I think B2B is on. It's one of the best ways to go and have really good conversations. And the first thing you want to make sure you have is your personal profile really dialed in. You're going to need a company profile, and we're going to get into that. But right away, your personal profile is the foundation.
We told them
Something.
10 Northern.
I think I'm getting some noise.
I got it, Dan. I muted.
Oh, cool. Thank you. So your personal profile is extremely important. It's going to be where today's world, one thing COVID really did is it accelerated the amount of digital consumption people do. They do a lot of research now more than ever, looking at people's profiles, understanding, is this someone we want to do business with? So we have to look at this as this is kind of our resume, but for our business as well. So how do we make sure that when someone looks at it, they see that we're qualified, they see that we're an extension of the company in all of the different ways that we interact with the community. So that's why we really want to dive in and talk about the LinkedIn personal profile first. So some of the LinkedIn profile tips that we like to cover and go through, you know, you want to make sure that you optimize your profile to improve your search results. And we're going to show some of those things. You want to keep your profile current. One of the biggest things that we see with a lot of folks is it hasn't been updated in a long time. You haven't posted anything, engaged in anything. It just shows people that maybe you're not relevant or you're not on there anymore. You're just not making any connections. You want to be sharing relevant content, valuable content, and you want to participate in conversations. If you're someone that just goes and is expecting to post things and get things, LinkedIn or Facebook are not going to work for you. Really, I'll say this time and time again, it's that participating in conversations, not selling anything, that conversation, that relationship that's really going to help you take it to the next level. So when we look at everything on LinkedIn, I'm going to use my profile, and then I'm going to encourage you to kind of go through this with me and think about yours now and in your customer. So for me, my role, I'm the executive vice president of the channel, and my goal is to let people know that if you're an MSP, I'm here to help you with sales and marketing for MSPs. And you can clearly see as a guest, if you're visiting my profile, within a matter of seconds, there's my picture. You can relate. You can see my title. You know about me. You know where I'm at. But my header, it immediately tells you what I do, and I can build that connection. Yes, I'm an MSP that's looking for sales and marketing. I'm going to go explore further. So now in your MSP, what is it that you're doing? What is that differentiator for you? What are your services? How do you represent or display your brand? This is the way that we want to make that connection right away, and people know what you do and can get at least the baseline. So they want to continue to go further down your page and engage with your content. And then it's where we're going to get into and start to show you how to get your content in here to help, you know, really expedite that relationship that you're trying to build. So when we look at it in your intro section, there's a few things that you want to look at. You have a profile link. That's your name. So it's like linkedin.com/Dan.Tomaszewski. Nobody can ever say that or spell that. So for me, it's like, think about it from your aspect. If you're at an event, you could say to somebody, hey, connect with me on LinkedIn. Go to linkedin.com/DT, whatever, or whatever your unique thing is. Make it something that's professional but memorable so people can easily connect with you. And I think a lot of people are leveraging LinkedIn more and more in their sales presentations, in webinars, presentations that they're doing out in the community. Hey, I'm here speaking with you today. I would love to make that connection with you all. Connect with me at blank, or put the QR code or something to that nature. But really, it's one of the biggest misses is when we get in front of folks is not giving them a way to connect with us so we can continue that conversation. You obviously want to upload that picture, something that's current, professional, approachable. It has to be you. So a lot of people will put like characters or things like that. That's okay if that's how you want to be taken, if that's how your business is branded. Or some people are like, I want the professional, I want the suit, or I want the jeans, like the polos. Like, what is it that's important for you? Make sure it represents you and your business, so people aren't like, that's not who the guy I saw on LinkedIn. You want to make sure that that connection is there, and that's something that looks like you're approachable. That background photo, you want to show off your brand. I kind of showed that early on. You want to make sure that you're showing off your brand and you're telling your professional story. You want people to understand why that real estate is there. It's there to make sure that those people that are looking and searching and trying to find someone to make that connection. Now, you don't want to smack people in the face with 100 offerings. You want to simplify it to them, but make sure it's speaking to that buyer, that persona, that person you really want to be having that connection with. You want to give your prospects by having that compelling headline. So for me, I said sales and marketing enablement for MSPs, because that's what I do. That's what I live and breathe each and every day. That's my tagline, my headline for you. And that's what I get. 90% of the people that follow me are saying, hey, I was looking for this and I saw your profile and it spoke to me. I'd love to make that connection and talk to you further and ask you some questions. So you really want to make sure that you have a compelling headline. Again, taking that buyer persona, who's looking for you, and building this in. And then this is probably one of the biggest misses, is give people ways to contact you, provide websites, provide emails, different things, because this tool is in place to establish that. And if I go through, look at your profile, and I have no other way to figure out how to get a hold of you, yeah, I can message you in here. I will say LinkedIn Messenger tends to get noisy with a lot of people pounding on the doors to sell you things. Whereas people that really wanted to find you, take that time, go to your website, fill out a form, or your email or other things are on there. You have a higher chance of getting that buyer who's ready, or someone that wants to go further with you, if you have the right information and it's available for them to click on. So let's get into this for a few minutes now. Like, when we talk about this, we have the about section. You want to create that hook in the first 3 lines. It's really important. You don't want to go on and write like a book. You want to have it to be kind of something short and sweet. You want to share that story of how you can help your clients and prospects, but you want to be genuine and personal. So many people copy and paste, and they just go through and they find someone else's and they paste it. Make it you. Make it genuine. Like, to where if I was at a networking event and I said to you, Dan, tell me about you. I'm going to say, look, I've built a channel program. It's got across all of Kaseya's 40,000 plus, things. And I'm going to walk you through and say, it's my mission. And I will tell you this, if you meet me, it's my mission to make sure that we're helping our customers with relevant branded training, content, resources, because we really want to help people see faster and higher returns on their technology investment. That is something you will hear from me anywhere I'm at, because that is my passion. It's something that's genuine to me. So what is that to you? What is it, that service that you're doing to that buyer persona? How can they really understand who you are in that little section that is available? Create that hook line, be genuine, and let them know and tell your story. This area is probably one of the most underutilized areas in Facebook, LinkedIn, and it's the showcase area. So they give you the ability to feature things. So maybe you write a blog, maybe you've had a team dinner, or you've participated in a community function. Feature that. Let people see some different features from your company. So I change my features out from time to time. I write a lot of articles, blogs, podcasts, different things that I take part in. So I feature different ones at different times, and I kind of try to make sure it's always relevant to what's going on. But this is a really great way for you to be able to showcase images, presentations, videos. Maybe you did a webinar, showcase it. Hey, would love to see how or how we can help support your business, or whatever it might be. This area here, having things that are featured, it draws that person to go through, and it helps build that credibility as people are going through your profile. It's just another really great way to kind of think about it. And I think thought leadership, the more you can put in there, the better it's going to be for you. When you get into your work experiences, you always want to have your job, your company page, to show that logo, include descriptions that highlight achievements. So, I was talking about like the features. Well, now think about, like, you can see here, when I was Senior Vice President of Channel and Community, the second one down, I had the CRN Channel Chief, things 2 times. You can highlight those things in different achievements or different things that have happened in those different time periods of your career. You can showcase chamber awards, associations, things like that. Again, you're building and painting that picture for people to really see that media side. It's not just all text now. They can click and interact with your experience. And it's painting that picture to that prospect, that potential customer. Man, this person really understands our spot or our industry, or man, they got a lot of really good things here on their profile. I didn't see that on the other MSPs profiles. It's just another way to make sure that you differentiate yourself as you're going through and really leveraging LinkedIn. Leverage the social proof. I think this is one of the things that a lot of people don't do. If you go on there, LinkedIn always has different courses. I just highlighted a few, different things. If you have other certifications from other vendors, things like that, this is an area that we highly recommend. Show that credential in there, because you can't just make these up. The credentials have expiration dates. They have keys, licenses to them. And it helps, again, with some of that social, proof that people are looking for. Asking people to endorse you on skills. Do you have coworkers? Do you have other peers that know you, your customers, things like that? Having people, endorse you, that endorsement now really kind of opens your content as you're publishing to people that, those people. So I'll use Michael Duke is up here, and he endorsed me for leadership. Now, when I post things, Michael Duke's customers might see it as a second connection. It's going to help get that content, and things that Michael's endorsed me on are now going to start showing up into his feed to some of his customers or connections. And again, it's leveraging that to hopefully build more connections. We also, I think the biggest one that we go after is a lot of people, I don't know, maybe we can use the chat box, but how many people on this call today, if you're doing like Google reviews, for asking for Google reviews for your business, could you put like a 1 in the chat? So I see,
You
okay.
can use reactions too and raise your hand.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, those types of things. So I see a couple people are commenting, they're doing Google reviews. So you're getting these Google reviews. which are great. And you have to have those. But when you're getting that Google review, could you get a LinkedIn recommendation that's about you as well? You know, thinking about that, how could you get and leverage at the same time, you know, in helping you expand? Because now let's say someone found you on Google and your business has got 5 stars, all these things, and then they go in and they start to dive into your personal profile. And I will tell you, so now people that are logging in and looking for me about, hey, is Dan real? Like, is his content working? Is his strategies, is the things he do, are they effective? You can now go and read through all the MSPs on my profile that are going to go through and tell you and validate that story that I've been saying from up above. You know, sales and marketing for MSPs. Here's the featured articles that I've written. Here's the accomplishments and the things that we've been able to do. Here's about me. Now let's look at the recommendations. We've painted a really good picture for what we're doing. And we've now leveraged that social proof that somebody that was maybe on the fence could go, all the check boxes are coming through. Like this seems to be somebody I would want to do business with. And really, really important. I will say it's one of the most underutilized things. I go on most of the people I talk to and we start out, they have like 1 or none in the recommendation area. And I can tell you, as you start to go through, ask your current clients to give you a recommendation, but then give them one as well. Go back and talk about what it's like working with them, what they're, what they are, and you're kind of, building that system. So leveraging recommendations, it's another great thing. It does help you with SEO, because you're going to have it's going to be recognized, that company, that person writing on your profile. It's another great thing to kind of get you recognized. Any questions so far as it relates to like the social proof, doing these different things like skills, endorsements, recommendations? Any questions anybody might have on these?
Hey, Dan, I've got one.
Sure.
As I listen to you talk, especially about the recommendations, I find myself sitting here shaking my head going, yep, I asked for recommendations once about 5 years ago, got a bunch, and that's what's still sitting there. How often do you keep updating what you're doing, and how often should you?
I think it's one of those things that you should just always continuously be working on. And so I'll say it for me. So like when I work with customers, and they're like, they'll call me and they'll be like, Dan, hey, really love, everything that you guys have been doing has been helping us. It's just really been great. And going through it, I'm like, I really appreciate that. And wait, would you mind taking a second? If I sent you a link real quick, would you put that in a LinkedIn recommendation? That would mean the world to me. Because I want other people to hear what you're saying. I can go out and say these things all day long, but hearing it from you and their peers, it means more to me. And they're like, oh yeah, I'll do that for you. I'd love to. So it's a part of my practice now. So you'll go to mine, and I probably got 30, 40 in there right now. I ask for them on a monthly basis. It's just a part of me that's programmed. And it's just like asking for that Google review and things like that. So I would just say to you, I do it all the time. Don't make it corny, like make it like a natural thing and what it means to you.
It's so funny. As I hear you saying that, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not great at self-promoting, but I do a lot of events. I do a lot of in-person and remote events. You always hear from people exactly like you said, hey, that was great. Thank you so much. All you have to do is really extend it to, would you mind, right? And go that route.
Yeah, and I think, it helps. It helps. So like you all that are on here are MSPs. So if that was something you were looking for and you came and you saw my recommendations and they're constantly going and going, and some of them you may know, it may open that door. So now think about it from that customer perspective. They see 2 or 3 of their connections on there and they're like, wow, he's wrote a recommendation. I know him. Or like, now you've got that potential for people to see and like build more credibility. So don't just do Google. You got to do that. But from a social media perspective, highly recommend leveraging the recommendation area.
I like that a lot. For the rest of you, we've muted you, but feel free to use the chat. Feel free to take yourself off mute or use the reactions and raise your hand. This should be an interactive session.
Yeah, and if you stop me at any point, guys, I want to answer and make sure that you're getting all the help that or whatever is important to you. All right. So when we look at it, we have the personal page we talked about. Now you dive in, you're going to have your LinkedIn, profile. It's going to represent, your business page is going to represent the organization. Obviously your personal profile represents you. Your LinkedIn page has followers. Your personal profile has connections, unless you're someone that's turned on creator mode. People can actually follow you on LinkedIn now on your personal page and connect with you. There's two totally different things. You can turn creator mode on, which gives you the ability to have people just follow you because they're interested in learning more, or maybe they want to see what you're like before they make the final connection. It's a really cool thing that LinkedIn's done with creator mode. You have to have a personal profile. A lot of people have asked us this in the past. You can't just have a business LinkedIn page. You have to have that personal profile that has to be associated to somebody. And that's for your personal protection, that your company's not just going to get out there and get, put out there. Things to think about: LinkedIn groups, they're discussion forums. They're intended to drive interactions and topics with group audiences. For MSPs, this is probably one of the biggest areas for you to go and participate in. If you're somebody, I'll use this as an example. I used to, in my days of an MSP, I did a lot in senior living and I did a lot into manufacturing. And I would go into the LinkedIn groups where senior living, people were at and having conversations. And I participated in the discussion forums. I asked questions. I shared resource information. And I dove in and had those engagements. I created, from just going into LinkedIn groups, building relationships, chiming in and having conversations. I closed well over $40,000 in MRR, and I did it all by participating and just being a part of discussions. And that's where we see that same thing with MSPs today, taking part in those different discussions. Who's your persona? Get into the groups they're in. Don't go sell anything, but participate in the conversations, kind of be that subject matter expert with folks. It's a great way to do that. So LinkedIn groups, it's a really big thing if you're able to go in there and leverage that. So fill in all the page details. It's like almost going back to the personal profile. If somebody comes to your profile and to your company page, and you don't even have a visit your website or a contact us or give us more, you're missing out. And most people look at that as that's someone that's not paying attention to the details, and what other things are they not paying attention to. So take the time, that 15 minutes, go through, make sure you get it. And it also hits the algorithm. You skipping to put websites on there, you skipping to put contact information. When you post content, it's not going to make it out very far. Pages with complete information, the algorithms are proving you're going to get 30% more of the weekly views, because they're going to put your business out in front of things because you've completed all of the profile information. So it's a big step. Look at your business page. If you don't have some of the things filled out, fill them out, because then when you're putting content or you're making posts, you're going to get it to more people. So think about the things that we talked about earlier. What is your logo? What's your cover image? This is where I see one of the biggest mistakes is, you might have one logo for Facebook and then you have a different logo for LinkedIn. I can recommend to you, don't do that. You want to have the same brand everywhere. You want your brand recognition. Your cover image on LinkedIn, have it be your cover image on Facebook. Your logo there, have it be your logo on, these two. Make them the same. You don't want people confused if it's a different company. People have different logos and all these things. It confuses people. Make it consistent. have a brand. And that way, when people are seeing it and all over, you've got that consistency. So really make sure that you're looking at your logo and your cover images. Bring your page to life, but make it consistent. So again, highlight in that overview section, what are the key terms, phrases, describe your organization's purpose, and really think about that in making sure that you're giving people a good overview of who you are, and you're tailoring it and describing your organization's purpose and what you're doing. You're going to want to make sure that all of the things, the websites and all those things that we talked about are there. And then that call to action button. What is it? Is it learn more? Is it go to our website? Is it email us? Is it whatever it is? Align it to your strategy. Some people want to send it to a website. Some people want you to take your action right there. Take a look at those things, and really look at it from that aspect, and making sure that that button is doing what you want them to do to meet with you and your organization. So when we look at it, for 3 best practices, when you're looking at it from like your LinkedIn, we said that call to action button. So your call to action button, you could change your marketing initiative every quarter. I have a lot of MSPs that go in and they change it on a quarterly basis based on whatever they're promoting or whatever their theme is. It's intentional. These buttons can be a URL to drive intended actions. So you can go in and change that button inside of your page, and you can have it be to register. Maybe you're trying to drive people to register for a webinar. Maybe it's sign up for my newsletter. Maybe it's want to learn more. You can take that button and really make it drive to what you're looking for. And I think this is something for MSPs that have told me, hey, webinars don't work. And I can never get people to register. When we put a profile together, we have content that's going out. The page has the registration link. There's a link in there. We've seen them increase their ability to get people to their webinars or to the meetings or the things they're looking at by almost 50%. It just goes back down to that 30 minutes of building a strategy. How can we make sure that our strategy aligns across all of our social platforms and leveraging them to the fullest? So identify relevant content. So this is where most people struggle. I don't have content. I don't know how to do those. There are things that we have in our enablement program. There are other services, things that are out there. But it's important. You can go take from leverage from vendors, all the different things that are out there. But I also think you could go out there and look at, putting your own personal stuff. If you've got texts and you're out doing something in the community, take a picture of your team. People love seeing, people on there. Those are the most engaged things. Or you can go look and say, all right, LinkedIn has some content suggestions to help, and you can actually go in and have it tell you, if I selected, social media or media planning, and I add these topics, it's going to tell me the audience size in my area. It's going to say, who, they're going to show me some other, things in my area that people are engaging on. So if you need inspiration, you're kind of running dry, but you kind of have an idea, you can go in, leverage LinkedIn's content suggestions, and it will give you that guidance and tell you what that audience is in the areas that you're trying to make a reach or an impact to. And it'll tell you if it's a good topic or if it's maybe not such a great topic. And then encourage your team. Get your people to go on and say that they're in whatever their role is at your company. Ask them, to go out there and encourage them to publish and post, the activities and the things you're doing. Everybody's connected to other people, and that's what we're trying to do with social media, is to get our message out and get our message out to the masses. And trying to grow our audience, build relationships, and encourage them, encourage your employees to really be a part of that reach. It's something that can help you as you're growing your business. Any questions? I'm going to stop for just a minute. LinkedIn, what are your guys' feelings on LinkedIn? What are you seeing that's working for you on LinkedIn, not working? What questions might anybody have? I promise you, I won't bite.
Go ahead, Bates.
Bates, go.
Good morning, everyone. I am very torn about that because I keep hearing the same advice that, engage and participate and invest the time in it and update everything. And it all makes sense. But every person that I talk to, including myself, but every other person that I talk to is kind of lost in the amount of information and posting and conversations that people start on LinkedIn and any other social media, to the point that most people that I know, of course, you have more information and better information, but people that I know are not looking at that stuff. It's mostly a platform for either salespeople or lead generation companies to go and harvest information. And I'm worried whether or not it's just me and the people I talk to, or if you've seen the same thing and heard the same type of information.
So look, there are a lot of people that go on, no matter what platform we're going to go on. Every business development person, salesperson, thing like that is going to be on there. I get about 100 messages a day asking me if I need lists or want help, reaching out. And I simply ignore those. What I look at it as is, and what we really try to teach is, it's a relationship, type of game. If you have somebody that you think is like your top 50, top 100, are you connected with them? Are you seeing what they're posting about? You can go look at their activity and see what they're liking or who they're commenting or engaging with. I think if you leverage LinkedIn in a way that you're looking at it from a relationship standpoint and not a sales standpoint, like I don't ever go on and say, buy Powered Services today, we're going to do and go to the moon. I go on and I have conversations. People ask me questions. I participate in chats, and it naturally opens the doors for us. And now I have some of the best connections just because we were having conversations and talking. So it is full of a lot of noise. And this is why it's important that you look at it and build a strategy to it of who do you want as a customer? What's that persona? What's that business? What are those things? Making those connections, understanding what their interests are and like what they're posting in that, it really does change the game and helping you be able to drive better relationships, potentially get into that boardroom seat faster, to have a conversation with them. You just have to know where to cut the noise and put your filter on, and to be able to dive into the areas that are really going to be meaningful for you, that aren't going to lead you down that rabbit hole of 50 people trying to sell you all the time. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. And continuation of that, Dan, in your experience with your expertise, what is the fine line between cyber stalking on LinkedIn and reaching out to people based on research you've done on them versus participating in conversation randomly and hope for stuff?
Yeah, so like you should never go on and be like, hey, I see you're 6'2" and like 500 pounds or whatever, and you love this and this, probably taking it too far. What I think it is like you start to engage with folks and you're like, you might like my blog post that I just posted, and you might say, hey, Dan, this was really insightful. And then I might write back and, hey, I've never met you. This is really awesome. Thank you for that feedback. Would love to have a conversation with you sometime and just get your thoughts or things like that. I think it's about just making it natural and not in a way that's, there. And there are people where I will say, like I have MSPs that are in Texas, and I'm going to Texas for an event. And I'm like, hey, I'm going to be in Texas in like a couple of weeks. Would love to do coffee with you. Was it something that we could just go and talk about life? And when I do that, I genuinely never talk about business. When I ask someone to go have coffee or go to lunch, it's just, I'd love to learn about you. And then they're like, you're just building a relationship. And I think that's really the bigger part of it.
Hey, Dan, I want to jump in on this a little bit, and I don't want to take all the credit for this. Several months ago, on one of these open sessions that we did, I met someone that's on this call, Ashley LaLumiere, who now works with us, and has driven me, not crazy, although sometimes, but driven me to understand LinkedIn in a different way. And Bates, it goes to your point. I think too many people look at LinkedIn as their entree into a prospect the minute they meet that prospect on LinkedIn, and don't realize that this is just another medium for conversation, just like having your company vehicles wrapped or having your website that people can go to. It is a way to build trust in who you are by people seeing you and seeing that you post and seeing that you're well connected and learning about you when they're ready to learn about you, and you understanding to be patient and say, hey, has this person seen me enough now for me to actually make a direct connection and see if they want to talk more about business, rather than go, oh, this person just asked me to connect. Let me see if I can sell to him right away. Because to me, that's the most distasteful thing any of us can do. And I feel like that's what happens too much on LinkedIn, that people forget that this is just another medium for connecting, just like bumping into someone in the street. Dan, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I connect with folks on there. You'll never get an automated message from me after connecting. I genuinely like to connect with MSPs. I like to see what people are, what's their strategy, what are they doing? And I just like to understand the market and what's happening. And then I comment, I'm like, hey, this is great, congratulations, things like that. I'm not looking for anything in return. I'm looking to just build connections and relationships, because you never know. This channel is so large. It is so good to have other people that you can rely on that could be that wealth of knowledge for you or help you in a time of need. So you got to go into it with just the right mindset. And I'm glad you said it was Ashley who's pushing that. Ashley, are any of the things I'm saying, am I way off?
No, you're spot on.
Okay.
Very, very powerful, especially for, I'm putting in, I don't know how to say it correctly, but for the younger crowd coming in, to this, the MSP world. I think obviously being up on LinkedIn, is becoming much more powerful, than we actually realize. So yes, everything you're saying is spot on, but I think.
No, it's awesome. And this can be something a lot of people. So when I had my MSP, I set aside 30 minutes a day for this. And that's all I did, is I went and looked at connections. I looked at the verticals or the industries that I wanted. I looked for those people. I sought out local leaders, different people in the community that I wanted to be with. And I would search to have, those connections. And I just continued to build those connections, and I just continued to do it. It's just something that I think, it's really important. And when you see it, when you look at Facebook and you go into like the Facebook world, a lot of people will say Facebook, no way Facebook works, things like that. I mean, if you look at the facts and you look what's out there, more than 90% of the marketers today are using Facebook to market their products and services. There's over 2.3 billion active users on Facebook. And over 74% of them say they use Facebook for professional purposes. I have more customers that are friends on LinkedIn or connect with me on LinkedIn, and now they're friends with me on Facebook. Obviously you need to be careful on it from a professional standpoint, what you post, things like that, if you're going to open that door. And I'm not saying that you have to go do that, but what I'm saying is that Facebook has similar impacts. I don't think it gives you the avenues like LinkedIn does, but you can't ignore the different platforms, because you've got people at different levels. There are people that just don't have LinkedIn, but they have Facebook. There are people that have both. There are people that don't do any social media. So how are you connecting to them in your marketing schedule? Are you doing it through a blog? Are you doing it through something else? Like, that's why having a strategy in each of these pieces, holding a piece of that strategy is so important, because you got to connect with people at where they're at, and where they're consuming things. I very rarely read a blog, but I write a blog. And I write a blog because I know there are people that have told me they want me to write versus, doing video or doing these things. So I've listened to users, and that's one of my strategies. So, think about it from those aspects. When you're looking at Facebook, it's almost identical. You're going to have your page information. They give you a little bit more freedom on Facebook because you can choose different templates that fit your business. You have more ability to turn tabs and features on and off. The one thing that it really aligns is the business details and that call to action. Again, that call to action, aligning those. So if I'm seeing you on LinkedIn or Facebook, I'm getting that similar, call to action. These are things that really kind of go hand in hand, and you really start to see success. So when you look at 3 best practices on Facebook, I would say this is, you can request on Facebook to have Facebook verify your page to boost credibility. You can tell Facebook that you're a business, and it'll get you that blue, checkbox. It'll make sure that your page is authentic and someone can't just knock it off and do something else. And it gives you a little bit more credibility. Users will be able to more than likely interact knowing that your page is official. Sharing content that encourages engagement. Facebook's algorithms are all about sparking conversation. If you put something in there with pictures of your staff, a compelling message with strong, questions and things like that, they really reward that. As soon as you can, on Facebook, if you can get 2 or 3 people to like your stuff in the first 15 to 20 minutes of it's out there, you're almost accelerating your path of getting it in front of more and more people. They look at that first 15 minutes. LinkedIn is the first 30 minutes. They're looking for those things. And that's why when I post things, I may ask team members, I may ask people on our staff, hey, go out there, comment, share, like, because now we've hit the algorithms to be able to get it out to the masses. Doesn't cost me anything. And it's a way to really start to get that message and that content out.
Dan, I just some people had their hands raised a few minutes ago.
Sorry.
Bill McCaughey. I don't want to butcher your name, but I saw your hand up a while ago. I don't know if your question was answered, but definitely want to give you the opportunity to jump in if you still have that question.
Well, I did, and I didn't want to go too far off track, but one of the things we've been working on, obviously, is security. And one of our interactive tools that we're doing with clients is showing them our and their Facebook social media accounts, things like that. And we're telling them to be very careful what's posted and how much they share, how often, who they're sharing with, what that type of information. So I guess my question is, where do you draw the line here when you're doing this in a, either a marketing or just trying to get your name out there? Then you go present to a client and they ask you, well, I see you're doing all this stuff that you're telling us we really shouldn't do.
Sure. So like what
to protecting from like social engineering type of potential?
Correct. Yeah, correct. Yep.
So like when you say social engineering, are you saying to people, like, are you talking about like their personal profiles, or are you saying company?
Well, it can be company. For instance, we've taken websites, LinkedIn sites of our customers and even ours, and said, take a look at these pages and come up with some ideas on how you could maybe spearfish someone or
Sure.
do any phishing. So that's kind of what I'm concerned about, is what kind of content do you put out, how often, and I guess I'm just concerned about the security end of it. That's all.
No, look, and it's totally, I totally respect that, and it is very important. because we obviously know social media can get, you don't want to be out there recommending people to do what was your first car, what color, what's your mother's, a lot of people are doing those surveys and things like that you see. Obviously, from a security standpoint, you don't want those things. I think, though, you can't be, look, we're going to get spearfished. We're targets as MSPs. It's going to happen. I think I took it as an approach of I wanted my staff, I was constantly training my staff on security and like watching for things and don't saying things. But same time, we have to be able to let people to make a connection with us. It's important because in today's world where I used to maybe see someone at a BNI or a chamber mixer, and that person maybe hasn't gone back to getting out into events and they're still behind that computer screen. How do they get to know who Dan is? How do they have that opportunity? I think it's how you do it. It's about what information you give about me. Typically I'm not sharing everything with you. I'm sharing that I'm out at this event, or I'm doing this, or we're my MSP. We're going to be out at the trunk and treat. We'd love if you and your families are out, come see us. It's the ability to show people how you're involved in the community. It's showing folks that you're human. I think on social media we get hit with the same things over and over. I see on an MSP day in my LinkedIn feed, like 15 to 20 people that say 8 out of 10 businesses go under when there's a data breach. Like, do you know how many of your customers are tired of seeing that? But what your customers would respond to is, like I just said, the trunk and treat. We're out in the community. We're giving back, or we're taking a part of this association, and we're the keynote speaker. They love that human side of it. I also respect that you have to be very careful. Not every business is sophisticated. They don't understand the threats when they post things and they go do those things. But we can't stop doing some of these things because I actually think it hurts you in terms of that connection. In the pilot, when we did this, we started this about a year ago where we really started taking Facebook and diving and changing things. The companies that have been in it for a year now are generating anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000 a year now off of LinkedIn and Facebook through relationships, groups that they're in, and just sharing more humanized things and being a part of their community. And it just changes because people are like, I know this person now. They know me before I even meet them. And it's a double-edged sword, though, in the industry we're in. But I understand where you're at. I'm not saying don't. I'm not saying stop sharing everything. What I'm saying is you still have to show people what you're doing. You just don't have to give them a ton of details and go into every ounce of everything that you're doing.
And Bates, I saw that you had your hand up again a moment ago as well. Did you have another question?
Yeah, when you switch gears between LinkedIn and Facebook, I heard something from one of the webinars in the last couple of years. Somebody said something very smart, I thought. Companies that only focus on servicing other companies are usually only on LinkedIn. But if you're a company that is trying to focus and service people, you can reach them through Facebook. That's where you make the human connection and you connect with them on the more personal level. Nobody's going to put stuff on their dogs and stuff on LinkedIn, but they will put information about their dogs on Facebook, maybe. That's a personal connection that you can potentially build much easier on Facebook side. So just wanted to share that. I thought it was very easy to understand the separation that we should be making, maybe.
Yeah, and think about that from their perspective, though. If you're connected with them on both and you see some of those things, it opens the door for you to have that business conversation now, potentially on LinkedIn, and say, hey, I saw on Facebook your dog, I got a dog just like that. That's really cool. Like, you now have built something to have a natural conversation with them other than just saying, hey, would you like me to save you $50 on your managed service or whatever? Like, it gives you that relatability in opening that conversation. And we're starting to see people. It's funny you said posting dogs. I literally just saw someone posting a dog on LinkedIn earlier. I think LinkedIn is starting to teeter a little bit. We're starting to see more and more stuff on there, but it definitely still is very heavy B2B. But anytime you put a personal picture up there, I will tell you, anytime like I've ever gone on and put a picture of like my staff, or if I've gone and done, an event or thing like that, and I've taken like a selfie with everybody, I'll get hundreds of likes. I might go back and post something else and get 25, because everybody kind of relates back to that human element of it.
Makes sense.
So that's really the thing that we wanted to kind of go through with you, is just kind of give you these core fundamental things, that you can kind of look at. You can look, go through and put into place. I can make sure we'll share this deck. Anybody's willing to have this, for your teams or for yourself, if you want to go through. I'll stop this for 1 second so I can. One thing, I will also give you my. Put it in here. If we're not connected, that's my LinkedIn. I promise you, I'm not going to tell you anything here, and then as soon as you connect with me, I sell you anything. I just like to connect with folks, to be able to have that conversation with you. Or if you have questions about what our MSP is doing when it comes to this, or this, I'll always tell you. I'm an open book. I love helping this industry. It's something that I'm very passionate about. So love for you to make the connection with us. But Jason, I know we got a little bit of time left. If people have questions around this topic, Datto, Kaseya, things that are going on, happy to address anything while we're here. And time is yours. So I want to be respectful as well, though.
So folks, we have another 30 minutes booked for this session. If anyone does want to talk about another aspect of sales or more into the social media portion of selling, or, as Dan just said, if there's some other question you have about Datto and Kaseya, feel free. Carly, go right ahead. Take yourself off mute.
Hi, guys. So I work for a small MSP, and we're starting to kind of build our social media presence. We haven't really been on LinkedIn or Facebook, and are kind of stepping into that whole realm. I wanted to ask, as far as like having a website, we do have one. It needs some work. Would you recommend getting the website like completely like redone and rebranded to what we want people to see before pursuing like building LinkedIn connections or Facebook connections, to kind of have a place to go back to that's 100% set up?
Yeah, so there's two things. Anytime you're looking at like redoing your website and things like that, the big thing is with LinkedIn, it's mostly about your personal profile first, to go through it. So you could be making those connections now. So that way, once you've got everything dialed in and your strategy's there, you can announce the new website, you can tie that into your company page. And we will, I would recommend you kind of look at it from that aspect. I don't ever think it's a good time to wait in terms of making connections. I always tell people, you're going to go publish content, but if you're only connected to 50 people, your reach is not going to be real far. It's about making those connections now, getting those people in, posting consistently. I make it, with my team, I post 2 to 3 times a week is where I'm at. Most of the people we see are doing it 3 to 5 times a week. And if you can consistently do that, LinkedIn's algorithms really start picking up with you around month 3 and 4. If they see you're committed and you continue to do it, you start to reap the rewards. You start to get in front of more people. It's being boosted. So it takes a lot of runway with the social media to get where you want to be. So while your website's in play, build your connections, at least start connecting to folks. And that way you can start to tie all that into your website but while you're doing that, at least there's momentum happening across the board. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
And if there's anything, if you're looking at doing some website stuff, I will tell you this, one of the coolest things I've seen in the last 1.5 to 2 years, so many people used to have on their websites, contact us and fill out a form. And we've watched now folks get rid of that and put a Calendly link. Allow that person that's interested to book the appointment at the time that's right for them while they're interested. And that way you're not out there making a phone call later on trying to chase somebody down and then they ignore your call or whatever. Man, you can get that appointment right there off of your website. And now when they're filling out the Calendly form, hey, I'm interested in talking about managed services. We're looking at making a change. I picked Friday, this date at this time. Now all you have to do is follow up and say, hey, I'm super excited to be meeting with you, and things like that. But that is even changing in what we're seeing a lot of folks, getting rid of the contact forms and going into more, here's the time, what's convenient for you. Those things are making a big impact when you're looking at your website.
That's really interesting, Dan. For several years, we've had the contact form, very small amount of fields though, right? And then they get an email instantly with the Calendly link, and most never schedule. Like most, right. we still have to chase to try and get somewhere with. So I find that really interesting, that dynamic of going straight to Calendly, don't even bother with the form.
So we did that, I want to say about 4 months ago with a guy who he challenged me. He's like, that's never going to work. He was looking at his website, and I would ask you guys all this. Put a heat map on your website. There's lots of different heat maps. Just search website heat maps. Put it on your website and watch what happens on your website. You'll be amazed. Like, you've got what we call that above the fold. It is really where you've got them for 15 to 20 seconds. And if you don't got them there, we're in trouble. But watch that heat map. And where we used to see people go, click, click, and then they would leave. And we're like, they couldn't find what they were looking for. So we made sure our headline was tailored right to the people we wanted. And we made it super easy. You book your appointment. We're like, choose your meeting at your convenience. What works for you, we'll work around it and support you. Our website traffic and leads were all of a sudden now converting at 40, 50% versus 20%. So it saves you a lot of other steps in your business, making you more efficient.
Dan, I've got a question for you. For a while, I have struggled with Steve Alexander has thousands of connections and followers on LinkedIn, and yet my company, MSP-Ignite, let's say, has hundreds, right? Yeah. And I always struggle going, well, no, we have to promote MSP-Ignite, not Steve Alexander. It sounds like you're actually saying, no, don't sweat promoting MSP-Ignite so much. Use your own connections and drive that content back to MSP-Ignite anyway.
There's nothing wrong with you sharing an MSP-Ignite post and even putting a little bit more of a Steve Alexander commentary to it. Yep. So sharing, if your company's posting something and then you take it, so like our company posts things all day long, and then I take it and put the Dan Tomaszewski, that you've read my profile, you know who I am, you kind of know how I'm going to speak. You're going to hear that tone from me and like my thought on that post. And then if your staffs are all doing that, people might see 2 or 3 different varieties, and one of those can speak to somebody. So it's just, again, it's about that, just taking the initiative, get people to connect. So what we used to do when we onboarded folks at our MSP, anytime we would go in and we would do business with a new customer, we would say to them, hey, are you on social media? Yeah. Okay, like our Facebook page, like our LinkedIn page. We're constantly producing tips, tricks, messages, things like that from us. And we would, we had a 150-person manufacturing company. All 150 were on Facebook, and we posted things, or we did things with them and did a potluck or something. We posted, they got the biggest kick out of it because they're on our social media and they they were all raving and they're like, you guys are the best and things like that. So again, it's just kind of thinking about how can you leverage it in your strategy. So I was getting just as many followers on my LinkedIn as I was the company, because it was a part of my strategy when we onboarded folks to make sure that they were connected. And the other reason why that works is because I knew people would leave jobs and go to other places, and they always wanted to have us go with them. And when they left, they would be like, hey, Dan and his team are so much fun. Look at the stuff they did with us on social media. Like, look at the things they would do with us and potlucks and coming in and giving away prizes or things occasionally. Like, we just made it fun for people wanting to connect with us. And then wherever they went next, we were always normally in the bidding process because they brought us in.
That makes a lot of sense. There's a question from Ron Zayak about Kaseya providing content that can be used to help fill in some of the blanks or give your customers something to start with on social media.
Yeah, so we have two different things that we offer. So for every Kaseya Datto customer, you have access to what we call powered services in our Jumpstart. And that is where we're going to give you simple campaigns, things like that, to be able to go out, start easily posting and doing, all of that stuff. Am I allowed to share for a second?
Go ahead.
And so what we also have is what we call Powered Services Pro. You should see, Jason, do you see the Powered Services screen? Cool.
We do.
So we have two different ones. We have our free version, and then, we have a paid version, but I'll explain why it's paid. We give you everything you need from a thought leadership perspective to go out and market your business every single month. And what I mean by that is I don't go to just sell Kaseya Datto products. I'm an MSP. I was in that shoes. I know I have to sell my entire service. I can't just sell only the Kaseya or Datto or whatever other vendors' products. So what we really hone in and is focus on is we look at things like Cybersecurity Awareness Month. We did a whole kit. Incident response, or like for this one, we do thought leadership kits that help you sell your entire solution, and we help you go through and we give you everything. So like this one, it was, what's one of the number one challenges you face when you get in there and bid is what makes you different than the three other quotes that are on the table. So what we did is built a campaign around what's the difference between a good MSP and a great MSP. And we used real life things that like humanized the ice cream cone, one of the highest engaged content pieces we did. This cupcake was another one. Because everyone's used to seeing the 8 out of 10 people go under after a cyber attack. We did a simple thing that just said IT service providers aren't equal either. And there's one with frosting and a strawberry on top, and there's a difference. That's why it's important for you to understand why we're the one with the frosting and the strawberry on top. We're probably putting in more security services. We're doing these different things for you. But the person that knows nothing about technology can relate to this. And we do some of the more of that high level thought leadership kits, and we produce these every single month. You get the source files to everything. So Adobe, Photoshop, you can completely customize it. And that's why there's a cost. The licensing for these things, it's really heavy for us. And then we have a dedicated channel enablement manager that is assigned to you in your account. That person will do webinars with you. They'll go on sales calls with you. They'll help you price, package. And again, not just Datto and Kaseya products, your whole solution. We want to help you sell everything. You're in your peer groups with you, Steve, and like you guys are talking with your peers. We're just another avenue to support you in some of those motions that you're hearing and things like that. We're there to help you kind of drive that. And I will tell you, we help on so many things. I just kind of wanted to show you, but there are multiple ways. If you're a Kaseya or Datto customer today, I will drop the link in there. You can simply just click request an account, and you can get the Jumpstart one and take a look around, and then you can look at the other ones as well. And I just put that in the chat for everyone. hopefully I wasn't boring. And if I was, I'm sorry.
I don't think you know how to be boring, Dan.
Yeah, I'll give one last marketing tip if you guys are up for this. I gave you Facebook and LinkedIn. The one that I have been coaching on the most recently is podcasting. It's not as hard as it sounds. It's something that's fairly easy to be able to do. $12 a month with a Buzzsprout account, and you being able to go into a Zoom room with, other local leaders. I don't recommend you do podcasts where you talk technology. I recommend you do podcasts where you bring in industry and community people from within your community, and you talk to them about their business and allow them to have the opportunity to have a business conversation with you. And then think about that on your website on the above the fold. If I come in as a prospect and I see the local banks, I see the law firms, the financial people, the chambers, all of that on your website being interviewed by you, that logo, that credibility, and then not to mention that when those episodes come out, they're putting them in their newsletters and they're expanding you and getting your reach to all those other folks. Now take that to LinkedIn, take that to Facebook, make it a part of your strategy, your website. You're differentiating yourself. You're putting yourself in a whole new spectrum that other MSPs aren't. And I can tell you, it is amazing what you will see when you're not out there saying you need security awareness training, when you got the bank on there saying we enforce this, we got this, we have to do this. Like, it's a really cool dynamic, and it's another angle for all of you to think about as you go into. And I will do this, Steve, for your guys' group that's on this today. I will send out the guide we just created onto how to start your own little podcast and things, and I'll submit that to you guys to be able to give to your members.
Fantastic, Dan. You also keep giving Ashley things to chat me and say, see, we talked about this too. We talked about this too.
There you go, Ashley. Ashley gave me $100 instead. If I said all those things that, no, I'm just kidding.
No, it's all good. And I think that goes to a point that we all struggle with. And Brian, Brian, you're still on. You made this comment to me in the chat. We all get caught up in this good idea. I don't have time. Great idea. I don't have time. I can't give this much time to social media. I think the fact of the matter is, if we want to grow our companies outside of our referral base, we need to make the time, not wait for the time.
Agree. I mean, look at what happened with COVID when we all had to pivot. A lot of us were referral based, and we wanted to go, and referrals are still a good thing, but you're not in some of the same face-to-face meetings we used to have before, where those referrals were easier to pass. So those folks that weren't doing anything digital were now scrambling to get digital. It's taking that time to build out that complete strategy is super important. And it doesn't have to be a lot of time. I know we talk about all these things and it looks like a lot of things. You can go do your Facebook profile and your LinkedIn profile in probably 30 minutes or less. Then think about what you can do every month. If you're in Powered Services Pro, we can actually post all those campaigns I showed you. We automate them and schedule them and post them for you. It's because we understand people don't always have time. Or you can go get Hootsuite, Buffer, CoSchedule, Social Pilot. There's all these tools that are out there. Sit down for 30 minutes and plan your month and put some posts together and be you. Man, it doesn't have to be hours and hours and hours of time. It can be something as simple as an hour a month. And you could have social media going. You could have, your LinkedIn, your podcast, things like that. Just make that time and commitment to it.
Agreed.
Yeah,
Great,
Brian.
Great job. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, well, I mean, just to kind of tag team on that, it's one of those things where, I mean, Dan's right. The actual work to do it is pretty minimal. For somebody like me, the getting amped up to do, figuring out what I want to say and taking what's in my mind and turning it into words, that part of it is an excruciating endeavor. and it can be, where the actual work is 30 minutes, that might be 6 to 8 hours of of just trying to force yourself to pull it all out. So it
But
is
what if
helpful
you-
to have-
Brian, what if you had a way to receive and share content with your fellow peer group members in a way that made it easy for you to have things that you just queued up to send out once a week? And would that benefit you in some way?
It would, Yeah.
I wonder if we can come up
Especially-
with something like that.
especially if it works with HubSpot and not just Cloud Hive. But yeah.
Somehow I feel like that was Ashley's idea. And she's smiling so hard right now.
Jason, since Ashley's joined the company, let's just say all the good ideas are hers.
Great hire.
Thank you for that, Steve.
The bad ones are all mine, by the way, just so we're on the same page. Anybody else closing thoughts? Jason, you have anything you want to add?
No, I mean, this has been awesome. I've learned a lot myself, and it just makes sense, right? And when you take the time to kind of set yourself up and build a strategy, I don't think it's as hard as it seems like outright. And I've looked at my LinkedIn a couple of times while on this call, like, geez, I need to fix this, and that. So I have a little list that I'm going to be working on as well, just to make sure it's up to snuff. I want to maximize connections. One of the big things that that I need to do is I need to reach out and get some endorsements. I need to get people to say, that they know me on a personal level, or that I have this skill set or that skill set, or little anecdotes about me, and build up my brand even further. So I think that this was definitely great, a lot of information, and I'm just happy that we were able to provide this for everybody, but I'm able to walk away with a lot of great stuff as well.
Agreed. Excellent session, Dan. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you guys having me. And if I can ever be a resource or help any of you, please let us know. And look, if you're a Datto Kaseya customer in any way, shape, or form, request MDF dollars for us. It's marketing development funds. Let us help you. It's an easy process, for you guys to fill out, and we can get you some funds too, to maybe help you start some of these marketing initiatives to get you going. So we're always here to help you. Appreciate you all very much, and hope you guys all have a great rest of the week. I know we're really close to the weekend. I'm itching for the weekend to be here. I've been on the road for 5 weeks, so I'm looking forward to this weekend. But appreciate you all letting us come on and speak with you today.
Absolutely.
Thanks again. Thanks, everybody.